Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of The Left Wing. I am TJ Whitehead, power is taken not given, joined as always by the man who double booked tonight's guest, John Cooper Paz of Counterpoint Politics. The guests in question are Felicia and Jake. How are you doing today? We'll start with Felicia. How's your day going so far?
Very well for a change. I think the Vanity Fair portraits gave us some much needed levity after the past weekend of outright carnage. I've been having a field day with those pictures. It's so delicious.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Can't agree more. Jake, how about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I mean those pictures. Vanity Fair did a pretty good job at bucking the Trump administration, so to speak. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I love.
We will jump into that for sure today. I definitely want to talk about that because I agree they did a good job, but I also have my critiques, things to share about it that I think should be considered when we're looking at that and just protests and satire in the Trump administration in general. Also, I promise, guys, we are going to talk about Venezuela today. Today's the day we're going to finally get to the topic. I promise you, we will not put it off again. We also want to talk about Democratic policy priorities and as well as Trump's crashing economic approval rating, all on the agenda today. But TJ, I didn't ask. How are you?
I make no promises on any of this stuff. Who knows how these discussions are going to go? And the more people you add to it, the more variables that are included. I just wanted to ask a question that's been burning in my mind the last few days to all three of you. I'll start with you, John. Have you ever heard this thing going around the interwebs with people asking, which is more possible for you, to do 1,000 push-ups in a day or eat 1,000 chicken nuggets in a day? Have you ever seen that? And which one do you think you could actually pull off?
Oh, I have not seen that at all. 1,000 push-ups is a lot, but I know I can do it. I've never even attempted. I've gotten, at least 500 or 600 in a day, so I imagine I could do 1,000 if I pace them out. But chicken nuggets, I don't know. Like, that's just such a large I don't know that eating a lot much food is. You can only do so much. You can always push yourself to do another push-up. You can't always push yourself to put another chicken nugget in your stomach. I don't know. How about you, Felicia?
Well, I know one person who could pass that 1,000 chicken nugget test. He's sitting in the White House.
That's where I thought you were going, Felicia. I was speaking to the Vanity Fair article. I was disappointed that he didn't get photographed because that would have been quite pleasant.
Oh yeah. I mean that cup's already overflowing. We have so many horrible pictures of Trump. It's not a good matter. But Jake, how about yourself? Well, which one do you think?
I'd say push-ups. 1,000 push-ups. Yeah. I don't know. Like the idea of putting that much like chicken nuggets into my stomach. Nope. Like I think I'd
Jake does not want to get filled up with some good cock. That's for sure.
Oh boy, here we go. There we go. There we go. It's we've gone blue 4 minutes into the show. Incredible. All right, so I agree. I think you all picked the correct answer. 1,000 push-ups is a lot of push-ups. 1,000 chicken nuggies is not possible. I looked it up just now. One chicken nugget is 59 calories. That I don't think anybody is eating 59,000 calories in one day. That is just not. I mean, maybe someone's up to the task, but you'd be essentially harnessing the power of a small star of energy within one human body, and I don't think that's. But it is. But the more interesting question to me is, where would that line be where you could eat more chicken nuggets than push-ups? That is a more fun question to me because 100 push-ups in a day, no problem. Anybody could do that essentially, but 500. And 500, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, because a 40-piece chicken nugget meal is not outside the bound of possibility, right? They sell those. You can actually buy that. But 100 would be pushing it, so I don't know. But these are the things that keep me up at night. So, John, any other thoughts before we go into the politics stuff?
No, that's pretty much, yeah. As long as you split out the push-ups, you can do it. I promise you can do it. You'll figure it out. But anyway, politics stuff. I want to get into the Vanity Fair article.
Let's go.
We had some comments about that on Tuesday. and we didn't get to it at all, even though it kind of happened on Tuesday, right? So if you were unaware, and I'll screen share some of the photos as we talk about this, but Vanity Fair did a in-depth expose article on the Trump cabinet and did take it seriously, depending on who you ask. They very much absolutely butchered on purpose the pictures for the Trump administration and did some like in-depth like call outs to previous pictures of Nixon and Goebbels and other figures to communicate something about the Trump cabinet, maybe their incompetence, maybe their evilness, maybe a little bit of both. And we'll put some pictures up. But Felicia, I know you said you were loving it. What were your thoughts when you did you read the article or just see the pictures?
I've only read excerpts from the article, and I, of course, was all obsessed with what Susie Wiles had to say. I couldn't get over it. I'm like, Susie had to have done that intentionally, right? I mean, this is 11 different interviews that she knows everything's on the record, and she says the most insulting things about everybody around her. I don't think that's an accident. I mean, I think she's feigning like, oh, this is a hatchet job. And it's all, I mean, it kind of reminds me of celebrities that intentionally leak a sex tape and they act like it's an invasion of privacy, or their nudes. Oh my God, how could you do this to me? But it makes them act intentional. I think Susie must have something up her sleeve. This is pure speculation, but I wonder if she knows that this is a sinking ship and she's setting herself up for a good tell-all by dropping all these things about these people. I thought the pictures, I mean, they're like award-winning photographs. You can tell that everybody in them thought they were getting their close-up, like their glamour shots, because everybody in Trump's world, including Trump, wants so badly to be famous, to be accepted in the upper crust of society. They took it very seriously. And Christopher Anderson managed to show them for who they really are by not retouching them, by showing their faces plain as can be. He showed the evil.
100%. This picture in particular, I have to find the Goebbels reference, but Goebbels has a picture exactly like this. Shot from Stephen Miller here. And I just the artistry of the article and the photographs certainly was on display. And I've seen a lot of different interpretations of what was done here. I also like not just the close-ups, but the wide shots that just look, they're a little askew. There's cords, shadows. They're shot up against a wall, which, like, if you ever take a single photography class, these are all the biggest no-nos that you learn in Photography 101. And they're doing it very intentionally on purpose. I mean, Marco Rubio could not look smaller. He looks like a goddamn munchkin from Munchkinland here. And I think it's absolutely hilarious. Now, my question here is this good satire? Because, yes, we laughed. It's funny. And it's very, to me, highbrow in a high society way. But I just can't imagine that this was in any way effective at either upsetting the Trump administration and making fun of them, or convincing any of the masses anything about this administration that they didn't already know, because I kind of imagine the vast majority of the Vanity Fair audience already agrees Trump kind of sucks. Is this good satire, or is it kind of just, for lack of a better term, liberal masturbation?
Well, I look at satire as magnifying the truth. And it's a way of diminishing people like the ones in the Trump administration. It takes the wind out of their sails. So do I think that it convinced anybody of anything? No, but I think it's good art. I think that it revealed who they are and, like I said, magnified the truth of who they are. When I do satirical skits and such, because I do impressions, the Jeanine Pirro handle is a spoof of Jeanine Pirro. And when I do those things, I do it with the intention of magnifying real stories. Obviously, it's exaggerated, but the point is to communicate. And I thought that they did an excellent job in Vanity Fair at doing that. I also think it harms them in the sense that they look like fools. I think that they look like they don't have their shit together. I think that the fact that the chief of staff, Susie, was supposed to be like, oh, she's the one keeping things in line. And the person who's supposed to be like managing the reins is basically saying how shitty everyone is. Calling Trump an alcoholic is a huge insult. Her father was an alcoholic. When you call somebody an alcoholic, you're saying that they are volatile, that he makes decisions on a whim. I mean, that is something that I think does resonate with the public. Like, what is she saying? She's his chief of staff, and she's not saying, oh, he's so intelligent, he's so measured. She's saying, yeah, he's basically a drunk without the booze.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing. He very famously doesn't drink. So saying he has an alcoholic's personality is a very pointed comment that I didn't even know her father was an alcoholic. That makes it even more intentional. TJ, I know you are not always a fan of satire. Maybe not a fan, but you aren't a proponent of its successful nature. What do you think of this article?
Yeah, that's a more accurate way to describe it. That it's not. I do enjoy satire. I think that it can be fun, entertaining, and pointed, and get its message across. But how you measure the effectiveness of satire can't be judged until way later, that you can see the actual effect of it. Now, if you're talking the way Felicia meant, for the artistry, for that sake, yeah, I think they did a fantastic job. But how effective it'll be in tanking the opinions of people other than Donald Trump, that's what I care about the most. Trump's opinion, the masses' opinion, or the opinion of Trump's core base, that is kind of beyond the control of any photographer or any media aspect at all. But seeing how it is artistically, I agree. The one problem I did have with it is this poor guy, the friendly fire to this poor Marine here. Like, this guy, I saw this picture and I said, why would they include this one? I don't get that, because this guy was, sent on a detail to go work at the White House. Hey, stand outside this door for 6 months or 8 months or however long. And now he's being clowned in a nationwide magazine alongside Marco Rubio and Stephen Miller. He didn't ask for this. This guy probably enlisted like 5-6 years ago, had no idea that this would be his introduction to the nation. That's my only complaint about this. But other than that, I thought it was great. I have enjoyed quite a lot people who are saying that you shouldn't make fun of, what's her name, Caroline Leavitt, for being a 65-year-old woman in a 28-year-old's body or something, or make fun of Stephen Miller for looking like a troll. I don't know how Felicia and Jake feel about this, but I've made this stance very clear over the years. It's okay to make fun of bad people. It's okay. They would. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this is. I have grown weary of the asymmetrical warfare that we have been fighting with these demons on the right side of the aisle, where they can do and say anything they want, and we have to pretend that we care about their tiny little fragile emotions. We don't. Okay, if you're going to dedicate your life to making the world a worse place, I'm not going to feel bad about calling you ugly or fat or stupid, or especially when you are all of them, right? I'm going to do that. So you agree, Jake?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was seeing a whole bunch of people complain about it today on Threads about, like, us going and bullying these people, but it's like these people have sent people off to torture prisons. Like, I don't really care. I really don't care. As far as I'm concerned, like, let them have it. Let them have it. And you can tell that, like, they were very affected by this because of the crash out on Twitter after the article dropped.
Yeah, they deserve a hell of a lot worse. So I mean, it's gonna have to get pretty bad. It would. Oh, I gotta be careful here. It would have to get to Charlie Kirk levels before I started saying you're going a little bit too far. And I didn't even say it about that. So anyway, I'm just saying that it's got to get really bad before you're gonna hear me complain about it. When these people are. Disappearing human beings, like, who've done nothing wrong, from their friends and families and from the community, tanking not just the national but the global economy, demonizing every minority group that they can identify. Yeah, it's okay to call them bad names. It is.
Mm-hmm. I'd be remiss if I did not bring up this comment. We have Holy Ghost Grass here saying, "Is that Scarlett Johansson?" Jake, I am pretty sure he's referring to you. Maybe Felicia, I don't know. No, so I do 100% agree. Like, it's utterly ridiculous to be policing, name calling, and ugly shaming for people who are literally committing war crimes and aiding them and sending people to torture prisons. And even in America, the alligator Alcatraz I saw this week, a article from Amnesty International that revealed that they are putting people in 2 foot by 2 foot boxes, shackling them to the ground and holding them there for 24 hours in the hot Florida sun. Like, that's what they're doing to just people. And so, yeah, I'm not going to lose any sleep over making fun of the looks of silly looking people. You know, a lot of them are silly looking. I'm going to call a spade a spade. And that's the world they wanted, right? That is the world that conservatives want, and I'm willing to give it to them.
Well, I just want to point something out. It was only a few weeks ago that Trump said "quiet piggy" to a reporter.
Yeah.
And Caroline Leavitt stood there and defended that comment. She said he tells it like it is. Well, then people are allowed to say that you have little holes in your lips because you inject them. Also, you know, I have less of an issue with making fun of things people choose. Like, it's one thing if somebody's born with a certain problem, I don't want to make fun of that. But Caroline having a really bad makeup job and bad lip filler is something she's chosen to do, and it can be undone. I don't view it as all that mean, right? It's like she can wipe it off.
I agree 100%, especially if you're someone who has the means to actually look good. That's the part that's really shocking, specifically about Caroline Leavitt, not just because she has money, but because she's by a country mile, probably the youngest person they did in this spread or whatever, and she might look the worst. I don't think there's any excuse for this. I think we all remember finding out that she's 28 years old, and it's like, really, Caroline Leavitt is that young? That is, we know that. I don't know. It's like, you know, how in Disney cartoons, the bad guys are always evil or something. Trump is going really the Mar-a-Lago face. This is going into a different direction here. The Mar-a-Lago face, like the Mar-a-Lago face would be an improvement for Caroline Leavitt. It would actually make her look even better, look better than she does. But yeah, if someone has the status and the power to actually hurt people, and they're making themselves look terrible on purpose, and they have the means to actually not look that way, I'm not going to feel bad. And Felicia, I will even go farther. Like, even if it's not their fault, it's not Robert F. Kennedy's fault. To my knowledge, it might be that he sounds that way. He has some sort of a disease that makes his voice sound like that. I'm going to make fun of it. He might not be able to change it. I don't care. He deserves it. He has it coming.
I would argue that given his history and the whole thing with felching, we don't know what caused it. So
who knows? Well, we'll see. He's got every other disease, right? He seems to have every other one, so we might as well just chop that up to him.
It is always good to laugh when bad things happen to bad people, because it's the only way to deal with all of the bad things that happen to good people as a result of bad people. If laughter is the worst thing that befalls them, then they have lived a very fortunate life. Felicia, you brought up Susie Wiles, and that is, to me, the thing that makes me answer the question of whether this was good satire with a no, because I agree, no one's going to change their mind based on about the Trump. If there is a person out there who saw this Vanity Fair article and decided to change their vote away from the Trump administration, raise your hand now, because you're the only one. But I do find satire can be effective of shaping general narratives and getting under the skin of those in power. That can be worth it just in and of itself to get a little jab in on someone who you can't hurt in any other way. The thing is, Susie Wiles kind of blew that up. Like, she said the most hurtful things in the article, and I thought that she was going to be in trouble. Like, I really thought when I read what she said, I was like, holy shit, did she not understand? She was on the record. Like, what the hell is going on here? She is screwed. And they just all closed ranks and defended her, which tells me one of two things. Either, A, Susie Wiles is way more important than any of us thought she was, or B, they're just in defense mode all the time. They're just in total, we will not break. We are a unit, and we are going to defend each other against any allegation, no matter what, even if it's from one of our own. It might be a little bit of both. I don't know. What did you think, Felicia?
They do seem to have a policy where they're a brick wall, right? It's sort of like with the police, the blue wall. They don't turn on each other publicly, even if there's internal is always attack the press. No matter what the story is, no matter the fact that she spoke 11 times on the record, it was a hatchet job. It was framed disingenuously. They took things I said out of context. They manipulated me. Everybody knows she said what she said, but that is the way that they approach the press. That it's fake news. They've been doing that for a long time. And I mean, to me, satire it's not necessarily to change minds, but I do think it chips away at their aura. It punctures. So when Trump rolled in for a second term, right, we've all been sort of living under this cloud. I feel like I'd say the predominant feeling is fear. Like, what's he going to do now? Now they're really unshackled. The first time was very disorganized. Now they have Project 2025. They have the Supreme Court. He has a vendetta. It's like, the monster was caged and got out. Like, he was almost in prison and now he's not going to prison and he's going to go after everybody. And we're all like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I certainly have been feeling very anxious. Imagine how migrants are feeling. And I think that satire punctures that. It's pay no attention to that man behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz. When you see him with the wheels, all of a sudden, that's you, Oz the Great and Powerful. You're an old man manipulating things. In that sense, I think it's effective. In the sense that, wow, Trump's chief of staff, who was supposed to be like the female embodiment of Karl Rove, a genius, she's this Machiavellian figure. Actually, she's a big mouth who can't stand anybody there, who validated everything that we think about all of them. And the fact that the whole world is laughing at them is very important. Another point, by the way.
I agree. I think that
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I agree. I think that having everybody, instead of feel fear, but feel like, oh, this administration is a joke, will encourage them more to get out and speak out at the horrors of this administration. So I think that having satire, I think we should have more of this. More journalists should be publishing articles like this, making fun of the administration, because it encourages more people to speak out.
Yes, and I know people who don't watch mainstream news. They don't read newspapers, not just because they don't trust it, but it's like it overwhelms them. But they scroll reels and they scroll Instagram and they see these posts and they're like, whoa, what is this? And so a lot of people get their information. Satire can be a vehicle that bypasses our defense mechanisms. When something is couched in comedy, it's easier to process sometimes.
I think you both bring up good points. Felicia, that Vanity Fair's audience, while not necessarily very right-leaning, isn't necessarily incredibly politically engaged. It's going to be hitting people who aren't paying all that close attention with messages that are feelings first, which is the way to actually get those people activated and paying attention. And Jake, your point there that I completely forgot about. Usually TJ's the one that writes things down. I usually don't because I usually remember. But this time I didn't. So I'll circle back to it, Jake. TJ, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I always write things. I got to keep a running track of it because I will lose it immediately. And I did write down at first we were talking about the effectiveness of the pictures versus the content of what's actually in the article. I agree more. Specifically, if you want to go after messaging toward conservatives, using pictures rather than words is probably your best bet. That seems to be their preferred method of communication. And I think it was Felicia who mentioned the people of the past, the conservatives, and think about the fall from grace the right wing has had. I haven't agreed with conservatives, in the last 20 years, whatever, of following politics, but I do have to acknowledge that our opponents, our oppressors from the past, people like Karl Rove or Bill Kristol or Dick Cheney, were a class above what we have now with Stephen Miller, Pete Hegseth, and Nick Fuentes. That is a significant drop in quality of the competence of these individuals. And so that's my problem specifically with the Trump administration and Donald Trump himself, in that how many times over the years have we seen people do impersonations of Donald Trump, like on SNL or something like that? They get less and less funny over time because Trump gets more and more ridiculous over time. I specifically with Trump, I don't think there's a way to actually parody him that will land, because I guarantee within 72 hours, he will do something more absurd than any parody you have. The rest of the folks are a bit like Marco Rubio or Caroline Levitt or Stephen Miller. It can work, but I think that their power and their influence is going to, well, maybe not with Rubio. Rubio is a little bit more competent than the rest of them, but it's going to evaporate the second he saw the Trump administration. What do you think, Felicia?
Rubio, but Rubio's portrait I thought was the most damning of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I thought Rubio looks tortured.
I think he is tortured, Felicia. Like, I think Trump keeps him there just to torture him, giving him
like
the
cat,
power
right?
he's always wanted with a monkey's paw of, you have to always bend the knee and genuflect at my altar. Like, I think this is punishment that Trump does every day to Marco Rubio. And I think that he smiles every day knowing how much Marco suffers.
Yeah, I made a joke about the portrait on my TikTok. I said it looks like the before of a commercial for an antidepressant. Ask your doctor about
It does.
today. He's like,
I had a John. Can you pull up Mark's comment that he put there just now?
Yes, because I also wanted to address.
Okay,
that.
Go for it first. I'll have to look for something. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mark said, and Mark is one of our conservative viewers, and we like Mark. We try to treat Mark with respect here. We try
to treat Mark with respect here.
And he says, "Y'all is just rationalizing being a jerk." Vanity Fair, left-wing podcast, President Trump. We're all lowering expectations of polite society. And Mark, I'm not saying you said this, but I think it's in a similar vein to a lot of posts that I've seen from, like, again, not even just influencers or people, like just like normal people I know in real life. Like, oh, well, the left wanted to kill Charlie Kirk. They laughed at this. They did all these things. I'm okay with whatever Trump did or whatever the Vanity Fair article said or whatever it is, right? And they make this false equivalency between Trump as the president of the United States and Vanity Fair or random people on the internet, where they're like, oh, all of you are equally responsible for the degradation of polite society. And it's like, here's the thing. We're a podcast. We're supposed to degrade polite society. Vanity Fair is, in its roots, a entertainment-based magazine that has become a fairly satirical magazine at points as well with its editorials. They're supposed to not be polite in the way that the president should be. And here's the thing, even when you compare, as Felicia pointed out earlier, say the jokes being made in calling a female reporter Miss Piggy, this is both higher quality of an insult, just, a higher art, if you will, and also less overall degrading than what the president of the United States said. And it should be flip-flopped. The president of the United States should be the presidential one, should be the one with decorum. If they aren't going to hold up decorum, what the hell should you expect from Vanity Fair and random podcasters on the internet? It's a false equivalency that really does grind my gears.
It really does. And it's like the harm being caused by Trump's absurdity or Trump's callousness or his anti-humanity dwarfs anything that any publication or podcast or social media influencer could ever do. And also, there's no equivalence in the statements being said. Like, we are saying Caroline Leavitt is ugly and looks 50 years older than she actually is. Stephen Miller is a troll and looks goofy. Look how bad these pictures are is just an accurate statement, right? Like, oh, they made them look goofy. This isn't a hot take on our part or anything here. Donald Trump just yesterday in his address, which we'll get to in a little bit, said Somalian immigrants are destroying the state of Minnesota. That's none of us have said anything that incendiary in this entire year. I just don't understand. Like what if you want to critique one, fine, but trying to pretend that there's any equivalence is absolutely insane. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, when the president of the United States goes on, Truth Social or Twitter or whatever it is he's using nowadays and puts out AI videos of planes taking a deuce on Americans protesting, I think the decorum goes out the window. I mean, come on, like.
Yeah, and Mark said, okay, great, less overall degrading. I expect decorum, John, always. No, you don't, Mark. No, you don't. Or else you wouldn't have voted for Mr. Poop Out the Plane in an AI video. Like, that's not consistent. You either expect decorum or you don't.
And it's not like that came out of nowhere, that poop out of plane. No one was, oh, wow, I cannot believe Donald Trump would post something like this, right? I mean, this is like his go-to the entire time. Sorry, Felicia, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just going to point out that the worst thing about the Vanity Fair piece were the comments from Susie Wiles. Many of us have said nothing that was in that article or in those photographs could be as biting as Susie Wiles saying that Elon Musk is a ketamine user and an odd duck. J.D. Vance is a conspiracy theorist. President Trump has the personality of an alcoholic, ignored her about the tariffs, ignored her about pardoning the J6ers, and makes decisions that affect the globe on a whim. She criticized the attorney general for her handling of the Epstein files. I mean, she said all the worst things, really, goofing on, oh, look, I could see the lip injection. It's silly. That is a very, in my opinion, benign criticism. Lip filler wears off. It's not it's such a truly surface silly comment to make. Mark, I don't know if you are still a Trump supporter, but if you are a hypocrite. And I say that, I mean, respectfully, to say that this podcast is lacking decorum when the president of the United States mocked the tragic murder of an American icon just a couple of days ago. I mean, how is that the same thing? Us goofing on the Vanity Fair portraits being unretouched and revealing some truths about the nature of what's inside the White House staff. How do you compare that with Rob Reiner was killed because of his Trump derangement syndrome? Rob Reiner, who is an American legend, right? A man whose films will stand the test of time, contributed such a body of work, right? Generations to come will appreciate the works of Rob Reiner. A wonderful human being who was on a revolutionary show, All in the Family, who continued his activism, was a good American, had many conservative friends who respected him. James Woods, who you cannot get more MAGA than James Woods, said that Rob Reiner was a patriot at the end of the day, who loved his country, whether they're on different sides or not. And the president couldn't stop himself from mocking this man's death and blaming him for his own murder, and his wife, by the way. I'm not having it, Mark. I'm sorry.
I also got to say, Felicia, I'm glad you brought up the Rob Reiner's works in the past. This is for the 9 conservatives who went online saying that, wow, you're never going to hear anyone on the right to make fun of Rob Reiner the way the left made fun of Charlie Kirk. It was obviously not true. But also, how fucking dare you compare Rob Reiner to Charlie Kirk? Years of the legacy of Rob Reiner. You're going to have like The Princess Bride, All in the Family, When Harry Met Sally, A Few Good Men. What is Charlie Kirk's legacy? Hey guys, how many eggs do you think Taylor Swift has left? That's Charlie Kirk's legacy, right? Him saying black pilots shouldn't be on airplane. It's ridiculous. Like we're once again another apples to airplanes, refrigerators we're talking here. It's just nonsense. What do you think, John?
I think that here we go. He said, I bet y'all are gay, aren't you? And I just wanted to address these allegations. It's not gay if someone sucks your dick. And that only happened one time. And so many people that was begging for it. Okay? So I don't want to hear it, right?
Hey. It took all year, but John finally made a good joke. I got to say.
Oh, look at that, TJ. And he says that because it's his usual joke that I just stole.
That was great.
The thing is, like, first of all, I love it. You're like Rob Reiner. He's an American icon. He made When Harry Met Sally. When Tuesday you were saying you never saw it, so it's calling you out as a fake fan here.
No, hold on, no, wait. I am aware of When Harry Met Sally and its influence, and like I'll have what she's having joke. I am aware with his filmography. I just haven't seen that particular movie, the movie that he's known for. Yes, I agree.
But many, right? Princess Bride, Misery, A Few Good Men.
Misery.
A Few Good Men is his. I love that. You can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
Yep.
John and I were just talking about that on Tuesday, that Colonel Jessup is too good in that movie because people quote him like he's the good guy. He's the person they look up to, and so kind of went astray there.
All right. I think that's go ahead, Felicia.
No, I'm reading some of these comments coming in.
No, they're wonderful. I highly recommend never doing that.
You gotta love it.
We have to do that, Felicia. You don't have to torture yourself with it.
No, I like to see what's being said because I see Mark. I was looking for Mark. I wanted to see. He says he's not a hypocrite. Well, Mark, do you support President Trump? Do you continue to support President Trump? Because if you are a hypocrite. You said you expect decorum.
That's a good question. So, Mark, I'm curious about this as well, because Mark does criticize Trump. He will say, well, Trump is like wrong about tariffs. Trump was wrong about his comments about Rob Reiner. Trump is wrong about what X, Y, and Z. what do you support Trump on, Mark? Like, what's left? Like, well, what do you got? I'm curious. Like, every time we speak to you, you say, "Oh yeah, Trump's that." John, sorry. Should we go into this one right away? Because since we're talking about Trump, we can go into the speech last night and everything. How about that?
Sure. Yeah, I don't have a chyron up for that, so we're just going to welcome. But yeah, let's talk about the speech from last night, DJ.
So yeah, Trump announced that he was going to be addressing the nation last night. I didn't watch it until a few hours ago because I kind of figured what it would be. But it was one of his campaign rallies, and boy, did he went through all the hits. I actually wrote down some of the comments that he wrote that I was expecting. But then I started thinking, he came out with his 1776 payment to the troops. He wrote that executive order to reschedule marijuana, the prime time address to the nation. And I started thinking, man, those Epstein files must be pretty bad. Like, this is the first time. So John and I have had this discussion many times. I am under the opinion that the Epstein files are not going to topple Trump. I don't think anything can. I think that Trump is God's righteous punishment upon the evils of this nation, and he's going to live to be 109 years old. He's not going to die in office. Everyone has been saying how Trump is, every time he's missing for a week, oh my God, he's had a stroke, he's going to die. He comes back healthier than ever. He's going to be fine. Trump's going to be okay. That's just my demiurge evil God theory there. But he seems rattled now. This is the first time I thought, oh, wow, these last 3 days, he's just really cranking out the hits. So we'll go to the guests first. Jake, what did you think of the address? Well, did you watch it or listen to it, and what did you think?
I'm going to be honest, I avoided that address. And I heard the after comments of it. I saw the after comments of it on Threads, and I heard that it was just him basically talking about himself and the campaign promises that he didn't do, and talking about how everything was lower in price when it wasn't lower in price. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think that the Epstein files are going to necessarily warrant impeachment, from the Republicans. I mean, but I do think that he's lost a lot of the soft power that he had. I mean, we saw as the Senate in Indiana, they denied his gerrymandering thing. Today also the Epstein files are obviously so bad that you have CNN reporting that the DOJ is trying to scrub the files. So whatever it is, I don't think he's going to be ousted because of it, but I also don't think that the rest of his term is going to be the same.
Felicia, your thoughts?
I think Epstein does hurt Trump. I know people, I try to focus on people outside of the internet, because on the internet, right, we're in a bubble with the most extreme voices all the time. I'm like, let's talk to the average Joe about this. And there are a lot of people, friends of mine, family, who unfortunately voted for Trump. Almost all of them now tell me they regret it. And the thing that made them regret it was Epstein. It was when Ghislaine Maxwell, I call her Ghislaine Maxwell, when she was moved and Todd Blanche went and met with her. They're like, this is such an obvious cover up. Do they think we're stupid? For some reason, and I do think this about a lot of Trump supporters, I think they suffer from trauma that hasn't been addressed. I feel like leftists are more likely to pursue therapy and things like that because they're so obsessed with the idea of pedophilia, child molestation, accusing celebrities of being child molesters. And to see that, wow, there might actually be something here with the guy that I voted for being implicated in this, and this association with a notorious child sex trafficker. It's damaging. It's not that I think he'll be removed from office. I don't think so at all. Not over Epstein. I don't think that's possible. But I think that without public support, their agenda falls apart. I think any toying with the idea of attempting to pursue another term will be dead in the water, especially if the Epstein thing blows up the way that I hope it will. He's going to lose a lot of support, as it is support that they claim. Yes, I believe that we had a fair election. I'm not somebody who's like, oh, something happened. I'm like, no, I know enough people who voted for him. I wasn't surprised. But I think a lot of that was impulsive. he did this Joe Rogan interview, and there were a lot of people who in the moment kind of just went with it. Remember the Google searches that spiked? Can you change your vote? Is it too late? Because not long after that, people seem to wake up like, what have I done? And I hear it more and more all the time.
Yeah, I do think that these allegations have hurt his popularity. His popularity gets lower and lower every week. There months ago, John pulled up this betting website, and it said, "Do you think Trump's approval will be?" I think it was 37 or 38% by January. At the time, his approval rating was 48 or 49, and we're like, "Hell yeah, absolutely, it's going to be." I was shocked that the betting line was so high. Now. But like you were mentioning, Felicia, it's them having buyer's remorse doesn't kick him out of office. That's what I was thinking. Like, a lot of people think that this is going to get him removed, and I don't think that's ever going to happen. I can't imagine anything, because there's going to be enough core Republicans who aren't going to believe anything no matter what. They'll claim it's a deep state conspiracy or AI or aliens, time travelers, who knows. They'll believe anything you put out in front of them. So yeah, that's what I think. So what do you think, John? Did you catch it? I know you had to see the hits from this speech.
Yeah, so I didn't watch the speech for probably similar reasons a lot of us didn't. There wasn't going to be anything new. I was a little worried that he was going to announce war in Venezuela. So that was like, you know what? If he does that, then I will find out about it very quickly. Otherwise, there's nothing in this speech that I haven't heard him say a million times before. And that's pretty much what we got. The interesting part of this speech is that he kept it tight. It was only 18 minutes, and he's apparently, from reports like from his aides, like he stayed on script, which is very, very funny considering how deranged the script sounds. If that is Trump's script writer writing that way and not Trump just going off the cuff, that is wild. But yeah, like he's gonna get up there. He's gonna lie about prices. He's gonna deliver a $1,776 bonus warrior stipend. But here's the thing: he wasn't even delivering that. He just rebranded that. That was money that was already owed to the troops as a housing stipend. That he just said, well, we're gonna call it the warrior bonus now, or whatever it was, the warrior dividend, and it's coming from Daddy Trump. And it wasn't. It was already approved by Congress. That was just a total made-up lie. Which we should expect at this point. You know, I don't think that anything happened in this speech that was utterly surprising. The thing that, so I agree, TJ, I'm with you and Felicia that he's probably not going to get removed over the Epstein stuff. And I actually don't, I know it bothers him, and that's really all that matters. Like, if it bothers him, it must be big, because he isn't bothered by shit otherwise. But the economy is, I think, what will sink him with people. And that's where his overall approval ratings are staying relatively around that. We're going to lose that at TJ, by the way. He's not going to have a approval rating below our 43 that we
it's not below
43.9 like we bet is not looking like that. But
what is it now? I thought it was like at 39 now. I thought for sure I saw
38%.
Yeah, I thought for sure I saw it was at 39 today.
I have to look at it. All I'm seeing here is we are 69% chance to lose. I don't know. I should have prepared this beforehand.
Well, I brought it up out of nowhere. So
yeah, no, it's okay. We knew we were going to talk about Trump's approval rating, but his economic approval rating is sunk to 31%, the lowest it has been across either of his terms. And you know, I don't have to tell the audience here that the economy ain't doing well. Just a couple of hits here. 68% of voters, including 44% of Republicans, say the economy is in poor shape. About half of Americans say it's harder than usual to afford holiday gifts this year. About half say they're cutting back on non-essential purchases more than they usually would. And a vast majority report seeing higher prices for groceries and electricity, underscoring a persistent cost of living strain. The economy is in rough shape. And he can lie about the price of groceries as much as he wants. Eventually, that buck is going to have to be passed to him, because people are going to not be able to afford shit. People are going to start defaulting on their mortgages. People are going to start defaulting on their loans. We are going to see a lot of things collapse, and you can't lie your way through that. I actually find it really funny that this is essentially, among other things, of course, but one of the big bugaboos that haunted Joe Biden was his insistence that there was no economic pain. He said, guys, I hear that everyone's upset about the economy. He didn't say vibe session, but that was what his camp was putting out there. Look at this graph. The way you feel is wrong. And it didn't fucking work. It turned off a lot of normal, everyday Americans. And we've said on this show many times, our economy was, relative to other countries in the world, recovering from the pandemic, pretty darn good. I gave Biden extra credit because he proved me wrong on some stuff. But the way that he handled that messaging absolutely tanked him. And Trump is doing that again, the same exact thing with a far worse economy and far more lying. And I just can't, as much as Trump is Teflon Don, that's the thing that must bite him in the ass eventually. Maybe MAGA's right. I see a lot of MAGA in the comments right now. Oh, whatever, we're done, whatever. But if the economy really collapses in a 2008 style way, which it very well could, I don't see how the Trump administration, I'm not saying that he gets removed from office, but like Jake said, that soft power is going to be vaporized and he's not going to be able to continue with the rest of his agenda.
Yeah, I hate to try to play, Nostradamus here or something like that, but we all kind of know everything is falling apart. Even absent of Donald Trump, even like not looking at anything like specific to the policies of Donald Trump, that everything, you don't own anything anymore. Everything you have is some sort of subscription. Things that you don't need a subscription for. If you want Adobe, you have to subscribe to it. You can't just buy it and have it on your computer anymore like you could in the good old days. I saw a thing with vehicles and how they want to, we covered on the show a while ago, John, that you want to get heated seats in your vehicles, you got to pay a subscription fee. So to keep the heated seats running in your vehicle or something like that, the average price of a used car, the average car payment for a new car is $700 today. $700 is the average price for a car payment. How the housing, we have this incompatible view of housing that everyone wants to purchase a home and then have it as an investment so you could sell it for a lot more money years and years later down the road so you can retire. And we also want young people to be able to afford to buy these homes. Two completely untenable concepts. And that's what your retirement is based on. Because most places don't offer you, people who are under 60 years old, how many of them have any reasonably intelligent retirement plan set up? Honestly, like ask people around you, hey, if everything continues essentially the way it is now, maybe if it gets even a little bit better, will you be able to comfortably retire at the age of 65? Fuck no, they can't. Everyone knows this is all kind of falling apart, and it seems to be accelerating and falling apart sooner rather than later. And now you have an insane man in the White House and who seems just dead set on just bald-faced lying. Like during his speech yesterday, he said again, I wish I could count how many times he said this, that gas in certain states has hit $1.99. I checked once again, I don't know why, the answer is always the same. Gas is not $1.99 in any state, but he said this many times in this last year since he's been president. He talked about the fact that healthcare premiums are going to be increasing next year because the Democrats wanted to increase, although he fought for this, that he's getting exactly what he wanted. Peace in the Middle East for the first time in 3,000 years. We have people being flooded in from prisons and insane asylums. We have these trade deals and tariffs. The 1776 thing too, the money to the troops. So I heard that, John, that this money had been already appropriated by Congress for your housing benefits in the military. Now, Felicia, Jake, I don't know if you guys were ever in the military, but whenever you have your base pay, like say your base pay is $5,000 a year, whatever your job or rank is. If you live off post, you also have BAH, basic allowance for housing, and that's the money you get on top of your paycheck to find housing. But that varies depending on your rank and where you live. And some BAH is higher than 1776. If you live in like a large metropolitan area, your BAH could be $2,500 a month. So if they're paying 1776, that'd actually be lower. I don't know how they're going to do that. I'm curious if that's like a real thing or if that's just a straw he was grasping at.
From what I understand, he's paying the 1776 immediately, and then people who are owed more will get it eventually. like that's just
that sounds
it's just a rebrand. Like honestly, this is the most on-brand Trump thing. Like he's just like, hey, this thing, I'm going to take credit for it, put my name on it, and say that it was me. It is the most capitalist-minded thing that Trump could possibly do. It's exactly what Elon did with Twitter and Tesla, and he just rebranded it, called it his. He did none of the work, and it's mine now. That's what Trump is doing.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jake.
I was just saying pretty much, yep.
Felicia, I saw a lot of expressions there. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, well, I know my face. I don't have a good poker face. I'm listening and agreeing, and I'm annoyed at Trump. And I did not watch the address, the fireside chat, because I mean, we could have written it, right? At this point, he's so predictable, right? Like you could have easily like written a rough draft and be like, oh, he said all of that, right? Like Joe Biden, 5 million illegals, you know. So I'm sick of it, right? I'm sick of platforming his and giving him one more rating. I refuse to watch it on the TV. I'm like, no. Because all he does is spew invective, lie pathologically, and gaslight people. And I think you're only going to be able to gaslight people for so long when it comes to the economy. And everybody's feral about this, right? When it comes to money and food on the table, all of a sudden you're not a Democrat, you're not Republican, you're not a lib, you're not conservative. It's like, I need to feed my fucking family, right? I've got problems here. I got to make my car payment. I have to be able to pay my mortgage. What the fuck is going on? That's when the shit will hit the fan. When it will get bad enough, who knows? I'm not an economist, but we see the trend. I mean, I see it. I go to the grocery store. I have a kid. I have to buy food for a family. I'm a very savvy shopper. I'm pretty good at it. And I'm like, this is insane. This is an outrageous amount of money for the amount of stuff I'm getting. I looked at my cart. I'm like, there's 5 things in here. Why is this over $100? Regularly, this has become a problem. And if I'm feeling it, I know a lot of people are feeling it. And yes, he's going to find that Teflon wears off. Teflon, if you know from having pans, eventually stops working. So keep it up. Keep it up. You can tell people the economy is so wonderful. I've done such great things. Gas is $1.99. Right. But your constituents and your voters still have to eat, and they still have to drive, and they still have to pay for their home, and their, you know, all these things. Good luck. That's all I have to say. Good luck. Because I think it's actually going to be his own who start to turn on him.
And you also got like search terms increasing on the webs of like bankruptcy lawyers, how to file bankruptcy, rent assistance, you know, all that type of stuff. So it's just like you can say whatever you want, you can lie to people, but like what's in front of them, you can't lie about that. You know,
the God of War Deluxe Edition, Ragnarok Deluxe Edition DLC is $85 fucking dollars. It's just too much, TJ. I posted and Felicia and Jake are just gonna be like, what the hell's going on here? I posted a article today about how the like PlayStation and Xbox like game hardware sales are the lowest they've like ever been in November. And I was like, this is a recession indicator. And Colby comments and he's like, John can only afford to buy 1 copy of God of War Ragnarok. It's really bad, folks.
Oh my God.
My husband is a teacher, and they just went on the break for Christmas, and I was wondering where all the gifts were. You know, little things. Sometimes parents send the Starbucks gift card or ornaments. Nothing.
You're not making the cut this year, guys.
Yeah. He's a very popular teacher, right? Everybody loves him. He's very, for whatever reason, he's great with teenagers. So they're always like, they think he's the man, and the
he's
parents
shit with me, but he's great with teenagers.
Exactly. You know, I'm like, well, you're a different person on the job, honey. No, I'm just kidding. He's very good, probably because he's the same mental age.
Damn, Felicia's husband just catching strays left and right here. Poor guy, not even here to defend himself. He's just Jesus
he's probably
Christ.
Listening. I love you, honey. I'm just joking.
Cover, yeah, good cover.
No, but I took that like a recession indicator. I'm like, you didn't get anything. This is weird.
Yeah, I don't want to delve in anyone's personal lives or like any more than we already have. But this. I've kind of noticed this too, that I'm buying a lot less. I say, yeah, you know, I've always talked about that. You know, I live pretty comfortably, and that you don't really worry about things too much. Then this year's like, yeah, this year actually I have been like, ooh, I don't know if I can afford that. Maybe I shouldn't be able to do that now. I don't know everybody else, but I'm gonna stop talking for John. It's some smart ass comment I know he wants to make. But all right, right here, this guy says DI totally ruined American Hollywood. You can't watch a good movie anymore because there's got to be a black guy and some gay guy in the middle. Prove me wrong, buddy. You need to stop watching your movies at like the interracialmanhole.com. That's your problem. Like when that's your primary source of entertainment, you're kind of just asking for it. That's just how it works there. But yeah, we appreciate the comments, guys. Keep them coming. John, any last thoughts on Trump right here?
Yes, and speaking of the comments, our Tuesday show is our Q&A show. So if you actually want to get more engagement with us, that is definitely the time to join us, 6:35 EST on Tuesdays. We did have Mark respond with a couple things that he does like about Donald Trump. And I actually thought these were perfectly valid, fine responses, mostly, because he says, unitary theory of the executive, is that too highbrow? No, it's not. But if you are a fan of unitary theory of the executive, Donald Trump,
Jesus.
The guy, like, if you like that, if you enjoy that kind of thing, Donald Trump is your guy, Mark. I do.
Isn't Mark a libertarian?
No, I don't think. No, Mark's a Wall Street Journal conservative.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, all right.
Libertarian.
All right.
Mark's a big Israel guy. So
ugh. No,
okay. Again, I'm not. I disagree with Mark, but at least, yeah, I will admit that Trump has been fairly pro-Israel. I don't think he's been God damn it. Wow, I can't speak today. I don't think he's been different than Joe Biden, guys. I can't say that word. Jesus Christ. And he also says Trump came through with Ukraine. It's been a bit tricky, but overall have to be pleased. That's the one where I'm like, I don't feel like he's come through with Ukraine at all. Ukraine is, if things go the way Donald Trump wants them to, Ukraine is going to have to cede territory to the country that invaded them. If an ally is ceding territory, that seems like a loss in a war to me. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, they were invaded. They shouldn't have to cede anything. What happened to, I will end it on day one? What is
that? He was treated too when he went into the White House.
Oh, God.
It's absolutely absurd.
And contrast that with his treatment of MBS, who
God,
a journalist, right? He's a great friend, my great friend here. That's a rude question, right? You have somebody who was whose nation was instrumental in the 9/11 attacks. You have somebody who murdered a journalist or ordered the hit, right? But then when our ally is sitting in the Oval Office, you allow him to be attacked, ask him if he has said thank you, criticize him for not wearing a suit.
That MBS interview, I don't think we even covered it, John. I don't think we ever got around to it, but that was one of when the reporter asked, is like, hey, isn't this guy, didn't U.S. intelligence find that this guy was directly implicated with the murder of Jamal Khashoggi? Trump lost his mind on that reporter. Like, he was angrier at that reporter than I've seen him most of the, he's always angry at reporters, saying, you've got this great man who's come here and he's a guest in the White House. How dare you ask him such a horrible question like that? The Trump administration has really cornered the market in the weakest response to a question with the "how dare you, sir." They really love that. Maybe it plays well with his base, but it just seems incredibly weak. But man, if there's anybody that doesn't deserve your sympathy, it's Mohammed bin Saud. That is yikes.
And that was not long after Mamdani won. And Mamdani was, I mean, my God, the amount of disgusting comments linking Mamdani to 9/11, right? I mean, I was horrified at my own neighbors. Many of them so-called liberals who wanted Cuomo and brought up
what?
Yes, and I guess we forgot about 9/11.
No,
with Mamdani's face over the towers. And then Trump has somebody who the 9/11 families were outraged over, right? Why do you have this man in the office when, Saudi Arabia is heavily implicated in what happened in 9/11. That's not a conspiracy theory. All but two of the hijackers were Saudi nationals, right? And they have not faced any accountability. And Trump shuts that down completely. I love Mary Bruce at ABC, by the way. Those were some major diplomatic balls to say it to his face. Oh, Mary Bruce, that was fabulous.
Yeah, what you just mentioned with your liberal neighbors and saying, man, has everyone forgotten about 9/11? Every day I get a little bit more cynical. I was talking to Jake about this backstage before the show started, that it gets harder and harder to get up in the morning and actually talk about this and think that you're part of some big project and everything. When you're talking about complex topics, you're delving deep into this. You're not even connecting the dots. You're just pointing out, hey, this is like, these are the dots right here. They're connected for you. You don't have to do any work. And then you have people, the supposedly the smart ones, saying, yeah, Mamdani and 9/11, I should really be worried. This guy's a Muslim, therefore he's a radical left-wing communist and a right-wing religious zealot at the same time. And as with Donald Trump, you mentioned, Felicia, that people who voted for Trump and then they had, remorse or whatever. And all of this just kind of goes to show that Trump is the president we deserve. This is, we asked for it. Like, this is these are the people. This is what the people want. And I was so happy that you said that you weren't one of the people who have been spent months saying, well, did you hear what happened in Rockland County, New York? Maybe some votes were flipped and Elon Musk will say, no, folks, this is what happened. This is like same thing with Russian collusion in 2016. Yeah, sure. Like, major powers interfere with other elections. That's what happens. That goes back centuries. That's nothing new. It happens all the time. The Russians did not make us racist. Okay, this is all of our own doing. We did this all by ourselves. This is what we asked for. And people, someone commented in there, and we were talking about, will this tank Trump or whatever. I can't remember who wrote it. I think it was Kyle or Colby, one of the two. And they said that the people who are repulsed by Trump and they have the buyer's remorse, whatever, they're going to turn around and vote for J.D. Vance. They're going to vote for Rubio. They're going to vote for Cruz. They're going to vote for another Republican, which is what makes this kind of difficult. They're going to have, I say this with John all the time, that the sad part about this is that even if everyone does turn on Trump, it's going to be the same thing that happened with George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. They're going to say, oh, those guys were the problem. But all the bigotry and all the hatred and all the vileness associated with them, we're still sticking with that. We just need to find a new avatar. Well, what do you think, Jake?
I think it's absolutely correct. And I mean, you're seeing that right now with like Nick Fuentes and a whole bunch of people galvanizing, like on the right, galvanizing behind him. Because he doesn't think that Trump is enough of a Nazi. So, yeah, I think pretty much the same thing is going to happen. We're 26 and 28. Like, I think Democrats are going to win, the trifecta of government, so to speak, just because sorry, I had a cat in the background. But just because of the swing of politics, but I think that in 2030 and 2032, like, we're going to have to defend against the woke right, so to speak, of Nick Fuentes. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
That's going to be, I'm not going to enjoy that pendulum swinging back, because we're not going. Again, I don't think anyone here on this call is just illusioned that the most likely outcome is the left-wing revolution that we all want. Now, I am the optimism guy, and I will never stop pointing out the massive gains we are making on the progressive left. Just looking at Zoran Mamdani, would never have been elected even a couple of years ago. Like, I don't think Zoran Mamdani gets elected during the Biden administration. I think that people are seeking a different answer more than anything else. More than they're saying they're a Republican or a Democrat, people just want a different fucking answer. And that's what we need to provide. We need to provide an answer on the left that is going to unify people, that is going to get people to believe that we're actually going to change something, which segues us very nicely into our next topic of conversation today. You have a genie and you only get one wish, and that wish must be, what is the number one Democratic policy priority going to be going into 2028? What do you and I'm not saying what do you think it's going to be. What do you think? What are you predicting? I'm saying, if you were in charge, what would you make the number one galvanizing policy in the way that Trump 2016, it was build that wall. Trump 2024 was mass deportation. What Biden 2020 was more or less, let's get back to normal. What What is the number one policy that Democrats should be rallying behind going into 2028? Felicia, we'll start with you.
I think whatever it is, it must be rooted in populism. I think the success of Trump and the success of Mamdani, I mean, yes, a lot of Trump's base is racist. We know that. They're not going anywhere. It's the same people from the Civil War. They just keep coming back. But a huge chunk of those people voted for him because of his populist message, like the line in Network about Howard Beale, I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. They say he's articulating the popular rage. That's what Mamdani has done. Mamdani won because of populism. And I think, I mean, it was James Carville he wrote an op-ed the other day saying, I'm an old man and it's time for the Democratic Party. Abandon everything you've always done. Populism is the answer right now. It's very clear. So that would be things like affordability, healthcare. I think that Medicare for all is something that Democrats have to embrace. It's a perfect opportunity. Republicans are going to cause healthcare premiums to skyrocket. It's already happening. People are like, what am I going to do? They're canceling their healthcare plans. This is going to be a huge crisis. Democrats should come in with the answer, and the answer is Medicare for all. I think it makes sense to people. I think the majority of Americans would be on board with something like that. Yeah, I mean, I think that they have to exploit the vulnerabilities, and the vulnerabilities right now are that Trump and the Republicans are leaving the middle class in the cold. And I think by the time the next election rolls around, I mean, people are going to be in very, very bad shape, very bad. The economy will have taken an enormous downturn. Like you said, we're already seeing signs of recession. And by the way, TJ, just quickly going back to what you said about like the conspiracy theories, I detest, and I think we should stay away from arguing, because it sounds just like them when they couldn't accept 2020. When people say, oh, Elon did something. No, we lost fair and square. We did not have a good candidate. The Kamala Harris rush at the end, it did not work. He won for 1,000,001 reasons. We didn't have a good message. We didn't have a good candidate. People get their information from an internet space that right now is heavily dominated by Republican messaging. It is what it is. We have to move forward from that. Spending time speculating about his health. Again, you sound just like they did. Biden is senile. Biden is this. Okay, great. Trump's old, whether his ankles are swollen, whatever. You're not his doctor. You have no way of knowing that he has congestive heart failure. He has 6 months to live. All of that is a waste of time and makes Democrats look unserious, right? Focus on the issues. And the big issue, if you have a crystal ball, and you don't need to be a genius to know this, is the economy's tanking. People can't afford shit. It's going to get worse. Christmas sucks this year. Ask around, right? I see it. Like, people usually, I have the only grandchild in the family, the one baby. So far, I'm the only one who popped a kid out. These kids aren't getting as many presents as usual. You know how it is? Like, everybody dotes on the baby in the family. Other than grandma, it's kind of like cricket.
Well, that sucks for him. You only get so many years of that, and that's the good stuff. I was a 4-year solo grandchild, and it was the best 4 years of my life.
This is the least surprising news I have ever heard on the show. That is not a shock.
No, the least surprising news is when Felicia said she was from New York. That must have been a real shocker to anyone listening.
Before we go to Jake's response here, Alicia, firing on all cylinders. I've seen a lot less of it lately, but certainly through the beginning of the year, I just kept hearing about these conspiracies that Trump admitted that they knew that the election was rigged, and Joe Rogan said this, and Elon Musk said this. Like, folks, you guys sound insane. We spent 4 years telling the Republicans they were ridiculous, that they had nothing that showed any evidence. They didn't bring anything to court, but there's the tiniest hint that something might have gone wrong. You can't prove it. You can't talk about how this is a 50-state, several thousand county conspiracy of independent voting materials. No, this is nonsense, thinking that this thing was stolen somehow. And then all the conjecture that this is it. The what if news. Oh, we didn't even talk about Dan Bongino. I always make fun of the what if news that, they're thinking about doing this. They're thinking about firing this person thinking about quitting. We finally got actual news. That was another suspicion I had that something might be up. Like, Dan Bongino also said, yeah, I'm out of here too. I'm out of here. Just so you know, anything comes out, I got nothing to do with it. I'm going to go spend some more time. That guy, he was a podcaster who finally got a real job and said, 1 year is enough. I'm going to go back to the microphone. That's how I feel. So, all right, we'll go back to you, Jake. Your thoughts on...
Files.
Say what?
He saw the files.
He saw, yeah, that's it, yeah.
They're probably just sitting on a desk somewhere, to be perfectly honest with you guys. It doesn't seem like they run the tightest ship.
So, Jake, your thoughts on what policy should Progressive unite around?
So I definitely agree with Felicia. Like, it must be rooted in populism. Like, that is what the people want. I think that, you know, universal health care, that's one. The other thing too is really like the amount of corruption and financial integrity issues in Congress, I think, is also a huge issue. And I think it's the big thing that has been holding the Democratic Party back from really being like a true opposition to the Republicans is the amount of donors that give to the Republican Party also give to the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, you know, money isn't free. Like, there's strings attached. They're not giving money to these Democrats or Republicans just because they like them. There's strings. And so if we want things like universal health care and, you know, like a 4-day work week, or was it 6 months paid maternity, paternity leave, all of those things, I don't think that we're going to get those unless we focus on financial integrity. So, and I don't know how like a president would do that, to be honest, since that's more like congressional, but I do think that it's important.
Yeah, and I mean, what the president can do, and, you know, what going into 2028, we'll have plenty of time to speculate who it's going to be, whatnot. I'm quite excited for that version of this show, because the version of this show that's just what atrocity did Trump commit this week is quite difficult at points. Very excited to get into that primary season. But to kind of answer this question, like as you said, Jake, they have to champion something. They have to champion something they care about. And to me, I think Felicia hit it. It's Medicare for all. It's universal health care, especially since we're seeing right now. And honestly, sometimes I like write a topic just so I can go on a soapbox rant about something.
Sometimes
one of those times, it has never been more clear to me that this is exactly what Democrats need to do to win. Because I've been a proponent of universal health care for a long, long time. You know, back in 2008, I was too young to understand any of this. So I wasn't really, I didn't have a dog in that fight back then. But in college, I was like, yeah, no, this, I read about it. I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. Every single country with universal healthcare systems pays less per capita for healthcare than we do. And the vast majority of them have better health outcomes. This is the most no-brainer fucking policy you will ever see. And then I turned 26. I got off my parents' health insurance, and holy motherfucking shit, is that horrible. It's just the experience of trying to figure out what to do. You lose your job if you get new health insurance. It is terrible. It is a misery machine. Nobody likes it. Even if you could convince me that it was, you know, 10% cheaper, which it is not, I would still want the fucking universal health care just for the ease of access of just going to the doctor and not fucking worrying about it. And that would reduce costs overall, because I know a lot of people. My fucking wife has to get surgery on her toe. It's not necessarily she has to right now. She could put it off until later in her life. If she didn't have insurance, she would, because it's going to cost $22,000 fucking dollars without insurance. That's insane. She would put it off if she didn't have insurance. And then it would get worse and worse and worse, and it would be more costly when she actually did it. And that's what increases healthcare costs overall. Even Republicans were threatening to break with the House majority, which they didn't end up doing, but they were threatening to break in order to extend the ACA subsidies, because this is a clusterfuck. And what are Republicans saying? What is Donald Trump saying here? He's saying, oh, well, it's the Democrats who broke healthcare. And you know what? As bullshit as that is, he's not entirely wrong. The ACA, while an improvement on what came before it, is still fundamentally fucking broken. And until Democrats realize that they need to admit that to themselves and present an actual alternative option, Republicans are going to be able to say that with impunity, because they haven't presented an alternative option. So far, it seems like the Democratic consensus is we're going to go just keep rolling with Obamacare, and no one wants to fucking hear that. They want to hear something that's actually going to solve their problems. Let's go back to what we had 4 years ago. We still have the same fucking problems. You got to do something else. To me, that's Medicare for all. It's already branded and tested and familiarized with the American public. Just fucking run with it. Whoever takes that by the fucking balls and just runs with it is going to win the 2028 presidential election. Mark my words.
Well, John, you say that, but I would like to offer a counter opinion that maybe what we need is a candidate who embraces the concept of being a radical moderate. And I think that my buddy Billy Bob Thornton on the Joe Rogan podcast had something to say about this. And boy, did this resonate with me. This is a platform I can get behind.
Politically, I call myself a radical moderate. I'm like very strong in my opinions, but my opinions don't belong to any political party. And, I just look at what makes sense. And I think we need a common sense party in this country. That's actually what I think we need. Yeah. It's just figure it out. It's pretty easy to figure out what this is all about, A
non-ideologically captured party.
Yes.
Yeah, that just is like, okay, what do we need to do here? Mm-hmm. Instead of it's us versus them,
All right. I just had to bring that up when talking about, what to do, because as absurd as that sounds, a lot of people do think like that. A lot of people do think that this idea of a non-ideological political party, something that definitionally cannot exist. You cannot have, that is impossible. This is wet flame territory of oxymoronic material here. And saying something like, this stuff is pretty simple. No, the fuck it isn't. The politics governing 350 million people could never be simple. That's just not how this shit works. But I don't know. Ignoring that portion of the population, because those are the people who can just jump on anything. They don't really have any principles. Saying that you're a radical moderate is just something that people say when they don't know much about politics and they don't want to, pick a side. They're too lazy or, too uninterested to find out. But galvanizing around something that could actually, power something through is important. And that's what we see in politics. And I think, who mentioned this? I think it was Jake, where you talked about, no, it wasn't Jake. It was a commenter. Someone commented in here saying that we have an American Christian problem. I can't roll back in here far enough, but someone said that we had a majority of Christians that voted for this guy, this obvious, creep. And here we go. It is the Christian conservative wing of my Republican Party that voted for this rapist, pedophile, felon, wife cheater, pussy grabber. I'm so glad when people say this, because what I hear a lot of is people, you have an Americanized Christian problem, not a Republican problem. I agree. I agree. The Republican Party is insidious and pernicious and any other $5 word I can think of. That's the Republican Party to a T. But American Christianity in general is a worldwide religion, several thousand years old. I'm not a Christian, but at least the way that it's practiced in the United States of America, for the most part, is a punitive, spiteful religion. Just think it's the holiday season now, although it doesn't feel like it. I'm so glad someone else said that too. I haven't felt like it's the holiday season this December like I usually do. But think how your average Christian conservative is just jazzed up to spitefully wish people a Merry Christmas every December. If they hear anything other than, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, so hoping that it will offend people. I pull up this stat here with the election that Donald Trump got the majority of vote in every Christian category, pretty much. Protestant, Catholic, otherwise, they ran away with the vote for Donald Trump. So, sure, that's a cultural issue and everything there, and a religious issues, but it's something that you have to look into. And along with your Medicare for all process, John, because I think that is something that people get behind. This is actually one that is kind of simple. This is one of the rare political problems where, universal health care is the biggest political no-brainer I've ever run across. It works everywhere it's tried. It makes things incredibly simple. I have I have healthcare through the VA, which is actually really great. They got a bad rap like 20 years ago, and everyone thinks it's terrible. It's actually really amazing, which isn't even a single payer system. It's a single provider system. We're not even asking for single provider. We're actually asking for single payer, which is a lot, less controlling than single provider. But another one is like housing. We talk about housing stuff all the time. The fact that I forgot what the average age for the median first-time owner.
TJ.
It's 40. 40 years old is the median age for your first-time home buyer. That is unsustainable. Why would John and I talked about, I think last episode, that if you're 16, 17, 18 years old, that is the time of your life when your eyes are the widest, when you have the most hope, when you have this feeling that I can go out there, I can do anything, I'm going to grab this bull by the horns, I can just... Why would you think that in 2025 you were 18? If I were 18 right now, I would be just you think I have despair now. If you take me back to 18 years old and put me in this place, there's no reason to think things are getting any better. You're good luck, but you might, if you're lucky, be able to buy a house in 25 years. And by the way, you're expected to start a family. You're expected to get your career off the ground. There's just no hope in there. So finding a way to make housing affordable and allowing young people to actually start families, which is the way you could kind of, to address right-wingers or conservative-leaning people, is to go down the family values route, saying that here's what your future is going to look like the next 20 years if you're 18. You may or may not get a spouse and have kids. If you want a kid, both of you are going to have to work. That you're not going to see that kid all day at school. You're not going to see the kid till 7 o'clock at night when you get home. The kid's going to leave the house the same time you do. Next thing you know, that kid's going to be 18 years old and you spent no time with them. That's the future you have to look forward to as a young person in the United States of America. The first person who can change that is going to run away with elections, run away with it. Whether it be housing, whether it be finding a way to strengthen unions so people spend more time at home and less time at work, and not having to argue. And Donald Trump's policy, hey, I'm going to hand money to you so you can negotiate with the $1 billion health insurance industry. Good luck doing that. It's all just nonsense. So you're right, John. It's just waiting. It's just waiting for someone to do it, and then someone just needs the guts to actually go out there and try it.
Jake's house is haunted.
Jake is haunted. What is going on?
Yeah, no, it's like a reminder type thingy telling me that I should go and journal.
Well, today you're journaling
to,
a live microphone.
I've been trying to get better at that.
You can look. You can tell this is Jake's first time podcast. You should have rolled with that. Like, oh my God, what is happening? What is this? Are we under attack by the Russians right now? Like that would have been the.
Yeah, totally.
Now, you did bring up the other thing there, TJ, because I do think Medicare for All needs to be number one. Housing is a 1B, and honestly, only because there's less of a obvious solution to it.
Yeah,
like universal healthcare, Medicare for All. We already got that test. We already got that ready to go. Housing is difficult because we don't know what exactly the solution should be. There's I don't even have this is a prescriptive, real easy way to get behind this. But I do think that just build shit like that can be the fucking name. But build houses, build roads, build bridges, build energy infrastructure, build all of this. Let's bring back American building. That's if you can promise that and execute on it. That's 1B right there in my mind. Jake, I know you and I are probably the ones who are looking up at the housing market right now more than good Lord TJ here. But I imagine TJ, you're also not TJ, Jake, you're also a guy in your 20s. That's somewhere in there. I imagine you don't own a house. I can basically just assume that. Do you have any hopes of owning a house before you're 30? Because my time is running out on that, and it's not going to fucking happen.
So unless I do it in the next year,
okay, yeah,
it doesn't look like it.
I am too.
I mean, with these interest rates, it's insane. Like it is insane. And housing is such a complicated thing too, because it's like, how do you provide more housing and you provide less expensive housing while at the same time not bringing down the value of the people that already own housing?
Not possible. It's
Right.
not possible. Yeah, it is. It is like, and that's an uncomfortable reality that Americans have to face. And there are ways to do this because, yeah, this is. I hate to say this, but this is how it is. That there are ways that you can provide cheaper housing that will lower property values that people will revolt against immediately. That if you have homeowners and you tell them we're going to put multi-family units in here, they will revolt every time. They were going to get mad because they're going to be losing housing value. The poors will be moving into their neighborhoods, and you got to watch out for them. They're going to be really resentful and everything. And eventually, you'll have to get there anyway. But I wouldn't start there. I would absolutely do it. But what I would lead with is something I think everyone get on board here. It is absurd that we allow corporations to own multiple single-family homes. Insane. You cannot point to one societal benefit for allowing a corporation to do that. If you want to own multiple houses, tax the fuck out of it. Just make it so that it's untenable for a corporation to own a dozen houses or 500 houses. That's only making money for them. It's hurting the community. I don't see how that loses. I don't see Republican, Democrat, independent, unaffiliated whatsoever. You just go out there and say, yeah, I think that I'm going to put a limit on how many houses individuals can own, and corporations, you can't do it at all. You can own one house if you want. You want to put your staff members there or something like that. But no, we're not going to let you buy up entire neighborhoods and compete against the young people who want to buy houses. They're not going to be able to outbid Blackstone. It's not going to happen. What do you think, Felicia?
Well, I've been taking notes because you guys are saying so much that I want to address at once. I'm like, okay, number one about healthcare, right? John mentioned this about the toe surgery and what a mess it is. Yes, our healthcare system is a bureaucratic mess. From top to bottom, right? What the hospital charges for a bag of saline, what you have to go through just to get your annual physical, even just to go get, I just went and got, here we go. I got my flu shot and my COVID jab. I went and did it. The amount of questions I had to answer to get that done, it's insane. Medicare for all is an easy win. I think almost all of the country would get on board with that. It doesn't mean that there aren't other services. As it is now, there are concierge medical services. There are a la carte services. You can subscribe to a clinic with a doctor that you like. If you don't want to participate in Medicare for all, that's a choice. In terms of housing, yes, it's impossible. We have NIMBYism. There's a lot of issues there, but people are not making enough money. They're not making what they deserve. I think that, again, most people would be on board with taxing the rich what they should be taxed. I think that people at the top who own these corporations should be forced to pay people a living wage, a real living wage. What does that mean? What is a living wage? It's not $15 an hour anymore. We're constantly catching up to what it should have been 15 years ago. That's a bigger issue for me. I think it's harder to tackle that. If you're looking for a simple platform for the next candidate, I really think it should be about healthcare. And I think by the time that rolls around, after what they're doing with my husband right now, speaking of Christians and what they do wrong in this country, my husband's union is in a big fight over health insurance with the archdiocese. They don't know what kind of plan we're going to have. Why? Because all of a sudden things are going up. So now they're like, what are we going to do about the teachers and their healthcare? In terms of what that commenter said about American Christians, that's a cultural problem with fundamentalists, not just Christians, all religious extremists in this country. Think the same way. The Catholic Church is in a big problem because everything that they stand for, right, other than being anti-abortion, everything that they stand for is very liberal. That's why people attack the Pope, right? They say, the Pope is a communist. No, this has always been the Catholic messaging, right? They embrace refugees. They feed the poor, charitable. You're supposed to do those things. So people are like, what? You mean it's Christian? You mean that when Jesus said what you do to the least of these, you do to me, he meant migrants and people who can't afford food? Oh, so they're in their own crisis right now. Yeah, I really think that the next candidate is going to have to be something. The idea of the radical moderate makes sense to me, TJ, in the sense that I think folks and their labels are all mixed up. I have a friend who told me I'm a diehard Republican. I'm like, really? And yet we get along so well, right? So we start going through the issues by issues. He's like, I don't have a problem with gay rights. No. Trans rights. No, I don't think about that stuff. Yeah, I think universal health care is a good idea. No, I think a woman should be allowed to choose. I think that's women's business. I'm like, you sound pretty liberal, right? I'm like, why don't you take a political ideology test? And he came out even more to the left than I did. I'm like,
was he like a big 2A guy, a Second Amendment guy? Why was he a Republican? Did he say?
He's a 2A guy, but supports like sensible safety laws, like not basically everything. I think labels have contributed to the tribalism. I think that so many people who think that they're right wing just reject the idea of being called a liberal or a Democrat. On paper, if you take that away, they actually do embrace a lot of liberal Democrat ideas. So I think that thinking about branding, somebody who's like, forget about that, forget about liberal Democrat, let's talk about the issues. Medicare for all means no more of this nonsense with the insurance companies, no more what's this copay, what's that copay, what, did you pay your deductible, did you pay, your maximum yearly for the family or the individual? No more, it's all gone. This is what you pay, this is what you get, it's over, no more questions. I think everybody
Yeah. Yeah, the thing where he just immediately identified as a Republican, I got to say, we're talking about legacies and all. Someone with a torturously evil legacy that I got to give props that he actually accomplished what he wanted to is Rush Limbaugh. In that Rush Limbaugh, he actually made the word liberal like a toxic word. Like no one wanted to be called a liberal. I remember like during the Iraq War, like a time frame or something, or shortly after like the Iraq War and everything. And I mentioned that, I was kind of liberal. It's like, this guy admitted it. He's a liberal. He said it out loud. Like I had admitted to a crime or something like that. And it's funny to me that liberal became a toxic word for conservatives, but it's actually become one for us too as progressives. Like, oh no, we're not liberals. We're not. Those people are too soft or whatever. So it actually worked both ways. So yeah, the identifying as one, because people don't know what these words mean. They don't know. If someone says they're conservative or a liberal or a moderate, it could mean anything you want. So yeah, sticking with policies does make a lot more sense. What do you think, John?
Yeah, and to even elaborate on that, it really is just vibes. We talk
it's all
about
vibes. Yep.
And I know this whole thing started like, what's the number one policy? But you're kind of right. It doesn't matter. That's why I kind of want to frame this as what is the one galvanizing policy? Because what the policy is actually, I think, matters a little bit less than the fact that it is galvanizing and people stand firm for it. What Felicia's friend here is saying is that, and I've heard this a lot, especially from men. Like, I imagine this was just a male-female in-group, out-group thing. If I'm going to take a guess and play Monday morning quarterback here, I know a lot of dudes who just view liberal and Democrats as the party of women. It's feminine, and they want to be masculine. They don't want to be feminine. And that's it. They can agree with most of the Democratic policies. In fact, when we looked at the 2024 policy agendas and they were blindly polled among Americans, Kamala's policies were vastly preferred even among Republican voters. It is not about the policies. It's about the general branding, as Felicia said. And unfortunately, the Democrats have a very weak brand that turns a lot of people off, even when they support superior policy. So it becomes, how do you turn that brand around? I do think it's from championing good fucking policies that people can easily understand and feel are good. Like, hey guys, let's fix healthcare. We're going to make it dummy fucking simple for you. That's something that people can get behind. And if you believe it and champion it, hey, fucking Zohar Mamdani had Donald Trump glazing him after one fucking meeting because he acted like a normal goddamn person. And that's kind of what you need to do. Stand for what you believe in, be a normal person about it, and fucking fight. This is what I always say about Donald Trump. He doesn't actually fight for the little guy, but people believe that he does. People believe they see him fighting. They might not understand what the effects of his fight are for, but goddamn, he's fighting something out there.
Yeah.
He believes that he's doing something good, and I could not tell you the same about a lot of fucking Democrats out there, where it's like, I don't know what they believe. I have no idea what Hakeem Jeffries believes. I have no idea if Hakeem Jeffries wakes up in the morning and goes, "I'm proud of what I accomplished yesterday." No fucking clue. No clue what he stands for. That's the fucking problem, more than any given policy point.
This is a lesson that's not just for politics, but just for life in general. That if you're going to maximize your effectiveness, your knowledge, or your skill, your execution in one area, make it charisma. You will get so far in life just by being energetic, someone that people like, someone who has a voice that commands respect. People, even like the best superpower in the world is having opinions other people take seriously. I haven't found anything that tops that in my life, in that even people who don't like you will listen to you. And you can use it as a sword and a shield, because just because I say something, they're like, oh, well, I don't agree with him, but TJ is a pretty bright guy. He knows what he's talking about. And if they turn around and say, I think that's dumb, I say, well, yeah, of course you would think that. You're an idiot. You're a moron. And it works. They can't say that to me because it's not true. And John, you mentioned the vibe thing. I told this on the show a dozen times. I'm sorry for people who have already heard it, but I'll never forget in 2016, I heard someone say on the radio, it was this older couple, and they mentioned that they voted for George W. Bush in 2000, and they voted for George W. Bush 2004, and then they voted for Barack Obama in 2008 and 2012, and then they voted for Donald Trump in 2016. My jaw was on the floor listening to these people talk, and I said, what kind of person is this? What you went through 8 years of Bush, 8 years of Obama, and then you said, yeah, I'm gonna go to Trump now. Like what is your guiding light? Like what are the primary values you have in politics? And over time, I've slowly come to realize a lot of people don't have that. They just don't. They don't know. They couldn't tell you. Half of Trump supporters, at least, couldn't talk to you any better about Trump's policies than Trump could. It's just that Trump is a guy who is a presence. He's a force majeure. He's out there and he's loud, and he fight whatever he believes in. He seems to fight for it. He seems to be someone who's really strong. And this is why a lot of Bernie people, like Bernie too, a lot of them probably couldn't tell you a whole lot about his policies, but this extends to Democrats and Republicans in general, that a lot of the Republicans that are like the Marjorie Taylor Greenes or the Lauren Boeberts or the Matt Gaetz or whatever, you can tell that they're in office for one of two reasons. Either they are absolute diehard believers, like they are insane conspiracy theorists and they believe this, nonsense, and that they're rescuing the white race and flat earth shit and all that, or they know that speaking like this will get them a lot of money and a lot of clout. One of the two. But with Democrats, you see a couple of true believers, but you also see people who seem to think, hey, being in politics is a cool job. Look at that. I get to wear nice clothes. I get to be on TV. I get to talk, and I get a big important position. And they don't seem to have that fire and that burning passion. And that fire and that passion is consuming. It's attractive. People love that. So, any politician out there with any charisma at all, just go out there and go for it. Well, what do you think, Jake?
I couldn't have said it better myself. Especially given that people don't really seem to understand policy. After having been on Threads for 8-9 months now, which I started this year, I've noticed that it's not just liberals, they are often touted as the more educated versus the right, and it is true to a certain extent. But when choosing people for office, it doesn't seem like they choose them based on policy. They choose them based on their personality, who's the loudest, who has the most charisma. And so whoever that person is that, comes out in 2028, that's going to probably be who everybody galvanizes behind, which I don't know who it's going to be. There's a whole lot of people out there on the political landscape right now. You got Newsom, you have Kamala Harris looks like she's going to join the race again. You have AOC. You have that poll that just came out the other day, AOC and Vance, where AOC was beating Vance by a couple points. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens.
It's hard to get into the mind. The line that the best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter. I get it. I get why people say shit like that. And this comment here, a lot of swing voters vote based on name order, height, masculinity of names. Yeah, I'm getting kind of black-pilled a lot on this. I hate to say it. I hate to say that I'm getting that way, that I'm losing a lot of faith. But I've had this thought, too, that we should just they get together at the left and run for president like a 6'4" bodybuilder named like Colt Davenport or something. And all right, we're gonna get all the votes just rolling.
I'm
in for
so
this guy.
voting for Colt
Yeah,
Davenport,
right?
TJ.
Yeah,
I don't
just
care what
like-
policies are. As long as he's
Exactly.
first on the list, Colt Davenport, he's my guy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, why not, man? Just give the people what they want. I'm not sure. All right. So,
Felicia, any last words to close out this topic?
we have
Yes.
13 minutes to talk about Venezuela.
Oh yes, okay. I'll make it quick. I don't think that anybody really thinks Trump is fighting for the little guy. I don't even think his own supporters think that. I think they love that he dunks on liberals, that he
Yep.
says racist, outrageous things. It's not much more than that. It's tribal. I'm not saying every Trump voter feels that way. I'm saying that's one faction of his base. I think the others simply thought he was stronger than Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And you know what? Frankly, on the debate stage, Biden's brain turned to mush. And yeah, Trump looked like a stronger choice. Then they pulled the switcheroo and you had Kamala Harris. I didn't think Kamala Harris did the best job in interviews. I just think, and she was only handed a short amount of time. I'm not going to blame her for what people did. But, you know, I don't really think it's that they think Trump fights for anything that helps them. And I think that's why we really should move away from the labels. Because when you have conversations with people, and I try to, of course, when people are racist, bigoted, and it's like outright just hatefulness, I just shut them down. Like on TikTok, when I go live, I'm willing to have conversations with people if they're open-minded and respectful. That's my only rule. You could say what you want. We could talk about it. Like, you can't be racist. To me, those people, you're never going to get through to them. So just like, fuck them. I mean, there's no point talking to them. The others, when you get down to it, it's like my friend who thinks he's Republican. When you break down each issue point by point, they're much more moderate and even left than they realize. And I call it the flip the lights on strategy. Republicans are so good at getting people worked up over absolute bullshit, like the trans boogeyman, like there's a trans in your daughter's locker room. It's nonsense. So to me, when I say flip the lights on, I mean, it's like a kid that's afraid that something's under the bed. You're not going to sit there and have a conversation with them about like the theory of something under the bed. You turn the lights on, there's nothing there. Let's move on to something else. Now go to sleep. That's, I think, what Democrats have to learn to do. Stop arguing with people about stuff like that. It's a very simple answer. This is a non-issue. It's not actually happening. It's not real. It's not real. Let's talk about your grocery prices. Let's talk about your health insurance premiums. Move away from these stupid issues because they don't serve any purpose other than feeding into Republican narratives. Right? They create these stories. They're very good at it. They're incredibly good at it. Like what they do with abortion rights, right? They tell tales that women are seeking abortions when they're 39 weeks pregnant. And it's not an issue. It's not real. We're not going to get into this. It's not happening. Good luck with your fairy tale. Shift them into talking about real stuff that affects them every day. That's the other thing too. People vote like, right, what's in front of their face, right? People don't really think that much about politics. I know it's very hard for me to believe because I live and breathe politics, but like the average person isn't thinking about this stuff. I went to pick something up, a Christmas gift, and I'm like, nobody in this mall right now gives an absolute fuck about anything, right? They do not care. They're not thinking about like what Trump going to say. They're not thinking about Venezuela. They're not thinking about, they're just like, you know, okay, I have to pick up this gift and that gift. And that's what I'm saying. Like the affordability thing is going to matter because those people who don't even think about politics when they realize I couldn't get as much as I wanted from my kid this year. Like TJ, you know, when you talked about like raising a child, right? I'm home with my son. My husband is the one working the traditional job. And we made that choice because really it's that, or I can work and pay $2,000 a month to strangers to raise my child and miss all these moments with him. But the choice was like, okay, so we're going to be really tight for years until he goes to school. That shouldn't be. I think it's eating at people too, TJ. I think the fact that people are like having to make choices like that, it's like, well, have a child, miss out on like the cutest moments that are so fleeting because you have to work. Both of you have to work. Both of you have to not be there. That's really messing with people. And I think actually more childcare options could be something very beneficial for Democrats to run on. Not just, oh, we're going to give you free daycare so your kid can go in here from like, 8 to 6 p.m. How about we can subsidize families? I think that would be hugely popular, providing subsidies to stay-at-home parents, longer paternity leave, things like that, I think would resonate really well with the average person.
Unfortunately, it would not resonate with donors, Felicia, which is why they're only long shot policies, despite the fact they'd be overwhelmingly popular. All right. So I did promise we're talking Venezuela. Finally, after like 3 weeks of this being on the schedule, We are going to talk some Venezuela. We've got 15 minutes here to talk about it. And so I'm just going to introduce it with a question here. TJ, we'll start with you. Why the hell are we going to invade Venezuela? Because when we started teasing this topic, it was, are we going to invade Venezuela? I am now we're probably going to invade Venezuela. And TJ, why the hell are we doing it?
Because why the hell not, John? Like why not? If you were Donald Trump and you have been successfully able to manifest all of your crazy thoughts and actions into reality, and you know that, oh, my popularity is sinking, and one surefire way to get people behind me is to drum up support for some sort of threat, some sort of enemy. And I got slim pickings around right now, and everybody hates drug cartels and everything. So yeah, and certainly you're really concerned with the Republicans, and so hold on, hi buddy, hold on.
Is this a Wolfie?
Yeah, sorry. But the Republicans are really trying to, to get the support from Republicans. They all have this intense white hot hatred for Venezuela. So go for it. Why not? It can only help you with Republicans. They've shown you in Iran that they will support you no matter what you do. So yeah, why not take the shot at it? I mean, figuratively speaking and literally speaking, to raise your profile with your base. That's my guess on this.
I don't know. I know a lot of people, just like the Epstein thing, a lot of people, especially I think the younger Trump supporters, like the millennial Trump voters, they're very anti-war because they grew up with the post 9/11 world, and the Iran strikes were a big deal. There's a lot of Trump's base that feels like absolutely no wars. And I mean, the United States history with meddling in Latin America is so well documented and pretty well known that it serves no purpose other than you want to cause another refugee crisis like the one we have now, because it's going to happen again. Let's just keep doing this. And then 30 years from now, when people are begging to come into the country, you can mistreat them too because of this policy and this idea to invade Venezuela. And it comes down to oil, just as it always has. They have huge oil reserves. That's something I think enough people aren't aware of. They think of oil as being in the Middle East, but Venezuela has enormous amounts of oil.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's partly oil, but I also think that the corporate figures that are around Trump's campaign, I think it's also how they use the oil, and that they, what's the word I'm looking for? They socialize, they use it to provide social policies, like education and healthcare and all that. And I think that a lot of the corporations and stuff that are behind Trump's cabinet see that as a threat. And so I think it's partly them kind of pushing to go in and destabilize Venezuela because of that.
Mm-hmm. And you're right too, TJ, the wag the dog thing. War is good. War protects people. It's been good for Netanyahu, and that's exactly it. They know that Trump is in trouble. They know that the administration is not popular. They know that we have an affordability crisis. And yes, war is distracting. But I don't think it's going to work out very well for them because people are extremely anti-war. I mean, especially because of social media too. I think, the messaging has changed when it comes to that stuff. Everybody who lived through the war in Iraq and Afghanistan is no fucking way. We're not doing that. Absolutely not.
I would be, I was about to say I'd be interested. That sounds so fucking shitty of me. But I am curious to know how the social media reaction would be if we had a boots on the ground war in Venezuela, knowing what Gaza has done to the American public. And, obviously there's still so much turmoil and strife and conflict there and here over that issue. I've said this many, many times. When I started making content, even suggesting that Israel might be in the wrong was a taboo. It was done by very few people. If you go and watch Rick and Morty, there's an episode where Rick drunkenly says his most deepest, darkest opinion, oh, what is it? And it's about Israel. And Rick's supposed to be this guy who says anything. And even back then, it was 2018. That was such a taboo. And now it has shifted so much that people talk about it all the time now. It is now a very okay opinion to say, hey, guys, Israel might be the bad guy here. And that is monumental movement relative to the decades of nothingness that has existed when it comes to the Israel-Palestine conflict. And I just can't imagine the gasoline that would be lit on fire if we started seeing those same videos of, people carrying their dismembered children out of rubble.
Yeah.
Except it's not Israel and Gaza, it's our own airstrikes causing the fucking death and dismemberment of children, broadcast to all of us 24/7. That would be a pretty galvanizing force among the American people. I can't even speculate as to whether it would actually make any movement or not, but it would certainly cause a stir, one that I hadn't really given much time to consider, because at the end of the day, I'm still Taco, he's going to chicken out here. But I don't know. It seems like it's going the direction where they want regime change. And, you guys are talking about the oil. It's possibly the oil. That is what they're going with right now. Just ostensibly, they're saying, when Venezuela nationalized their oil reserves, they stole from American companies, which is just an insane fucking thing to say.
Wild.
It's insane on so many levels. One being that it was 50 years ago. Two being that, so you're saying that we have private oil companies that have a right to drill oil in another country, and if the country doesn't let us, we are going to utilize military force to allow our private industry to extract resources from this country. That is fucking colonial. That is imperialism by definition. And they're just saying, ostensibly that is what we are trying to do here. Utterly insane. It's really unfortunate that most Americans have no understanding of what any of that means. But this, I honestly don't think it's about any of that, DJ. I think it's just strongman. I think it's big strongman wants to do big strongman things. A report came out in the Wall Street Journal today saying that Stephen Miller originally wanted to push for armed conflict with Mexico, and then Mexico played ball with the border crossing stuff and cracking down the cartels. And he was like, "Oh shit, this is going too well. We can't invade Mexico." That's when they switched to Venezuela. And this is reporting coming from aides that are anonymous, so take it with a grain of salt. But aides within the White House telling this to the Wall Street Journal, and it all tracks with me, TJ. I do think that this is just, we want a war to be big strong man. We want to wield our big stick and kill a bunch of brown people to make ourselves feel good. That is genuinely what I think this is about. I think anyone saying this is about any geopolitical national security positioning or oil reserves and these resources. No, it's not a resource war. It's a fucking big dick war. That's what this is.
Yeah, that's why I say I think this is just giving the base its red meat. In Trump's speech last night, the first thing he opened up with was 11 months ago, I inherited a mess. The nation was dead. We were suffering in our economy. There were men playing in women's sports, transgender for everyone. And it's no one gives a fuck about that except for the hardcore conservative base, and Trump knows that. I want to, before we leave here, I want to reference the super chat here by Dung is Fun. With a AVI that says porn on it. I don't know why. But anyway, his suggestion was if the United States wasn't on the petrodollar. I'm guessing that's maybe with Venezuela. I don't know if it was Venezuela or a policy we should run on or something like that. Dung is Fun. Explaining what the petrodollar is to your average American would be a waste of fucking time. It is. You'd have to go back. It's in World War II, FDR made a deal with the king of Saudi Arabia that only. He's no, this is. You would lose them. I agree. It's kind of fucked up. It has done a lot to help the United States, but you would lose the American people really fucking quick.
I don't even know what the I'm looking it up now as to what the petrodollar is, because I don't even know what it is.
It's complicated.
Yeah. Basically, OPEC decided that the only way you can buy oil from them is by using American dollars, which is what cemented the United States dollar as the reserve currency of the world, essentially. So it has helped us economically, but it does cause a lot of problems that you can probably predict by linking us with Saudi Arabia, no matter what they fucking do. So yeah, you can see where that's going. But yeah. Anyway, that's it. I want to go right there. I had to comment. They gave us $2, so I wanted to bring up it feels kind of rude not to do it. Kind of like Saudi Arabia, the United States in a lot of ways. I kind of felt obligated to do it.
All right. We officially talked about Venezuela.
We did.
I'm very glad we finally did it. We did Venezuela. And unfortunately, as I've said, the last couple times that we've punted this issue, it's going to just keep getting like they're going to do something. I don't know. I hope Trump chickens out. I hope that he just, I don't know, does one of those Israel bombed Iran, so Iran bombs them back, and then we agree that we're going to stop sort of deals that have happened several times over the past couple months. Who fucking knows? But as I said, Venezuela has the right to defend itself, and we are obviously the aggressor here. If we invade them, it will be just as atrocious as when we invaded Iraq. And you know what? They're not even fucking lying about it this time. They're just straight up saying we're doing this to get the oil that we feel we have a right to because we had companies here 50 years ago that you paid to leave. Like it's utterly insane. Just it's depressing. I don't know. You'd think that when I was going into college, in late 2010s, there was this sense that, we all learned the lesson from Iraq. We all agree that was bad now. Nope, everyone just fucking lied about that. We're going to do it again. It really fucking sucks.
Well, I mean, the people don't like it. It's just the people in power that want to do it.
I think they're going to face blowback.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
If we learned any lessons from that, we wouldn't have as much support for genocide in the Middle East as we have right now. I think that it's very clear we did not learn our lesson whatsoever. We learned that we should have learned that, if you have a problem with an insurgency for any reason whatsoever, going in and killing as many people as possible only creates more of the insurgency. I thought that we learned that lesson at the War on Terror. We very clearly did not.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being here in our audience. This is The Left Wing. We go live every Tuesday and Thursday at 6:35 EST. Make sure to subscribe so you know when we are live. If you guys enjoyed our wonderful guests today, we'll start with you, Felicia. Tell people where they can find you.
Sure. So I go by Janine Pirot, spelled like Bordeaux wine. It's a spoof of Janine Pirot's name because I started out on TikTok back in May doing an impression of Janine Pirot.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I've done some prank calls and then I kind of shied away from it because I'm like, I feel like this administration is very litigious, and because I called Curtis Sliwa's campaign. And they almost put me through to him. And I was like, you know what? I was like, let me talk to Curtis. I've got intel about the conversations Trump is having with Cuomo. And they totally believed that. I was like, uh-oh. Anyway, so that's, I started out doing that. I do different skits and impressions and things, but I also have started to do a lot more commentary. And I sometimes host lives that I call Politics in Pajamas on TikTok, where I let pretty much anybody come up. I like to engage with people. I'm trying to communicate with people. I went to go see liberal icon Rachel Maddow at a book talk. And she said, I'm not the person to look to for answers, but if I did have to tell you one thing, it's like, don't rage tweet and watch my show. Go talk to people, get off like this like echo chamber and watching me and being upset. Go communicate with people. So that's what I'm trying to do. And by the way, to that person who's saying you will not find me in the kitchen, actually, I love to cook. So Hero on TikTok and Instagram. That's me. Thank you.
Jake, where can people find
you can find me mostly on Threads, Jake the Leftist. I like to tweet a lot. It's funny you were mentioning rage tweeting, because I should probably take that advice because I rage tweet a lot.
Me too. Incessantly. I'm like, fuck you, asshole.
But my platform, I just, I started it because of the mess that was going on, and I wanted to just be a voice and try to educate people. And so, I mean, I go after Republicans, I go after Democrats, who I think aren't meeting the moment. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Fantastic. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you joining us. And I want to say that tonight's episode is brought to you by the campaign of Colt Davenport 2028. When things get bad, go with the Chad. He will not lead you wrong. We will catch you guys later. Have a good one.
Take care.